Hello and welcome to another episode of Decentralounge, which is brought to you by GlobalStake, your institutional, truly decentralized bare metal staking provider. But today we are very excited to have a wonderful guest on the show, Mr. Mohak Agarwal. Mohak is the founder and CEO of ClayStack, which is a next-generation cryptocurrency staking platform which specializes in liquid staking. Mohak, we're super excited to have you on.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited as well.
Of course. Love the background with Dubai there. But hey, before we get started, is there something that most people don't know about you that you can kind of get things kicked off for us on?
I can start, but it might seem like a flex. So there was this thing which kind of like a bit like special to me when it happened. So this was like 2020. Larry Cermak from the Block Crypto. He was conducting a crypto knowledge test. It was a 75 questions, 75 minutes test. And a lot of people from senior partners from a bunch of funds, like top funds, Ethereum researchers, a bunch of other people participated in that test. And I think the best score at that time in that test was 95% in 14 minutes. And Larry was saying, these are the smartest minds in crypto. And then I took that test and I scored 100% in 6.5 minutes.
Wow, good Lord.
Yeah, so that led to a lot of great conversations, a lot of great people.
I wouldn't even doubt the networking that would come from that. People would be like, the crypto savant right over here. Come help us with our projects. That's actually a perfect segue, Mohak. I'd love, can you share with us kind of your journey into the cryptocurrency world and what kind of led you here to today?
Sure. My formal background is in computer science, but I've always been super intrigued about finance since a very young age. I have been analyzing companies since a very young age. Got a chance to work with a couple of hedge funds after my computer science to develop some option hedging models, then in traditional trading. So when I got into crypto in 2016, I felt like people around me were either too technically driven or too financially driven. And me having experience in both, I felt like crypto is a strong coupling of finance and technology. So that gave me a lot of head start towards accruing a lot of value from the early stages in crypto itself. So that was my journey. And then once I came in, to be honest, I will not be like the guy who will tell you that I read the Bitcoin light paper and I had tears in my eyes and it was like the best thing ever. To be honest, I did that. I did not understand it. And I was like, what is this mining thing? Like, I could not understand it very well when I had it for the first time. Then within a few weeks or something, then I started to learn more. And then once I got the hang of it, then I'm like, the kind of excitement that I will get in this space, there is nothing else or there's no other space where I can even now imagine.
I love it. So then what are some of the key gaps or challenges that you kind of saw in the space as you got acclimated and started looking around that made you sit back and go, okay, hey, this is what ClayStack, my vision, could fix?
Yeah, so before ClayStack, I started a Web3 fund and then I transformed that fund into a staking as a service company. So we were like validating on multiple layer ones. I was running, I think at one point, like 100 validators as a one-man operation. Then I thought like lockups were the biggest challenges biggest challenge in staking. A lot of people would be disincentivized to stake at the first place if they're like big lockups. So initially I started ClayStack just to kind of unlock my layer one liquidity. So I created this, I showed it to a bunch of people, then people, oh shit, this is amazing. Like, why don't you productize it? And initially my idea was like, I was like looking for people who want to develop, and I would just like invest in them. And then I could not find someone, then I'm like, who's better than me, myself? So that's what like led me to start ClayStack. And yeah.
I love it. So let's take a step back here. So for our listeners, many of them are institutional players such as hedge funds, VCs, family offices, etc., that might be new to the concept. Could you do us a favor and kind of explain what is liquid staking and how it differentiates from traditional staking?
Of course. In traditional staking environment, what happens is when you stake your assets, these are like, let's say you go to a particular validator or you're running these nodes yourself. So either you delegate your stake to a validator or you run these nodes yourself. And then like, let's say every network has a different unbonding period. For example, for Ethereum, it's a very dynamic unbonding period, depends upon the withdrawal. So it could range from, let's say, 4 days to, months. before you can get that stake back. So at any point of time, if you decide that, hey, I have staked this ETH on which I'm earning these yields, now I want my Ethereum back. And the network would be like, no, wait a minute. You have to go through this unbonding period, which could be pretty long. What liquid staking allows you to do is you come to ClayStack, you deposit your ETH. In return, we give you a receipt token called CS ETH. And the exchange rate between ETH and CS ETH keeps going up as we accrue more staking rewards. So let's say napkin math. If the yearly yield is 4%, and let's say you were the first user on the platform, you deposited 1 ETH, you got 1 CS ETH. After a year, you came back with 1 CS ETH, you will get 1.04 ETH because the 4% staking yield. So that's like the advantage that you don't have any lockups. And why you don't have any lockups is because CS ETH, the receipt token, that is completely fungible, transferable, and tradable. So you can go on a DEX to sell it at any given point of time. You can go to DeFi to lend these tokens to borrow like stable coins, ETH or whatever, and then like run it again. You can have leverage on it. So there are like additional yield opportunities that it generates, and at the same time gives you like the full flexibility and liquidity. So that's like the difference between staking and liquid staking. And then I can go around like traditional liquid staking versus ClayStack liquid staking.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. So now, I mean, when we started, obviously it was not very competitive. Now, liquid staking does have a fair bit of competition, which is very healthy for the space. But the challenge is like liquid staking, unfortunately, has been one of those few spaces where the rate of innovation has been kind of like disgustingly lowest. Every protocol just kind of creates another version of like Lido without any clear path towards decentralization, end up becoming more centralized than Lido. So what we do is we have a modular DVT based architecture. DVT is distributed validated technology. So now imagine a node being run whenever you stake your Ethereum, the node is running somewhere in some server by someone. So if let's say that server goes down, or if that person is not like operating that node well, then you will start missing attestations, you will start missing checkpoints, you will start missing rewards. And in order to do this, if you want to automate this, let's say you have a backup machine ready, there is a chance of double signing, which can slash your node. And that has pretty brutal penalties. So a lot of people like struggle. That's why you will see there are only few top tier validators that people want to trust versus solo stakers people don't want to trust. So what we did was we want to have like solo stakers in this journey. So with DVT, distributed validated technology, what happens is every node is being run by multiple operators. So imagine like consensus within the node itself. So we have like clusters of 4 right now. So let's say if one of the operator in the cluster is offline or down, the other 3 are online, then they will keep validating. You will not miss any rewards. So the chance of missing rewards goes very low. And if due to any reason, let's say 2 operators are offline, you can rebuild these clusters very fast. So you can say, oh, okay, you 2 are offline. Let me bring you 2 new guys in this cluster. And then this cluster is online again. Versus in a traditional setup, if let's say you are on a vacation and your machine is down, you can't do anything. So that's why people are always like careful. Then the risk of slashing is also very low, because in order to get slashed, all the operators in the cluster have to do the same malicious activity. They have to coordinate, and there is no not even like an incentive to do that. So it's very far-fetched. So you get like very, very high fault tolerance. So that's one what we have done. Now, still as a protocol, what like you don't want to have any risk on the protocol if any operator or multiple operators are like offline at the same time. To overcome that risk, most protocols, what they do is that, hey, if you want to become my validator, you have to put a collateral at stake, that if you are offline or if you're not performing your duties well, then I'm going to like take money from your collateral. We call it bond. The lowest bond, so Ethereum, as you know, like every validator requires 32 ETH. And most protocols have not been able to reduce this bond below 4 ETH, which is probably okay for crypto bros, but 4 ETH is a lot of money. It's like $10,000. You can't expect a home staker or even an infra company to invest so much capital unless they're like super bullish on ETH. It becomes extremely difficult to scale that validator set. So what we did was we created this unique concept called VFPs, which is validator funding providers. So think of them as capital underwriters or risk underwriters in the system, who can. So what we do is we sync the performance of every validator on L2s. So you can join on testnet today, you can start raking up a lot of performance. So then we'll have like tiered pools of validators or clusters where let's say Jordan has ETH, and the highest yield that you can earn on ETH right now is 3.8%. And then let's say I created a cluster where I have like, let's say, two professional validators, and one, let's say Ryan is another validator who has been performing his duties very well on testnet. Now Jordan comes to this cluster and see, okay, it's a very low risk cluster. Even if first of all Ryan is performing very well, but if due to any reason Ryan is not performing, we can rebuild these clusters very fast. So we are like, hey, we require 4 ETH bond in this cluster. Jordan is like, yeah, I'm willing to lend you this 4 ETH just for this specific purpose. If there is any slashing happens, I'm willing to take that risk, which is low. But at the same time, I'm a shark. Like I want the worth of this ETH. And then Ryan is like, okay, we'll give you 5.5% yield instead of 4% yield. And John is like, okay, that seems like nice approach. So it creates kind of that healthy mechanism by which we can make the validator set actually permissionless without hitting any scalability issues, which most of the protocols struggle. They get like initial few kind of tens of or hundreds of millions of TVL, and then after that they're like, okay, now how do we decentralize this? There's no way. So now they become another Lido.
I had a follow-up question, Mohak. That was really interesting. All of it was quite fascinating. So, and maybe you mentioned it, and I didn't hear it. What's the specific minimum that would be required to do this on ClayStack? Because I've seen that threshold that you referenced with regard to the 4 ETH, and that we need less and less. That was one part of the question. But the other part of the question I was kind of wanted to ask was, there's a lot of interest now in using these liquid staking tokens in a double layer, like with EigenLayer, for instance, where people are taking these, like in your case, the CS ETH, and they could theoretically lock it up in something like EigenLayer. So where do you see this all maturing? Because like we're in this really interesting inflection point with liquid staking and how people are using it for capital efficiency and everything else. Do you see that this model of like EigenLayer and other people using this as a secondary staking token? Do you think that'll continue to proliferate into the future?
Sure. So I'll start with the first question around the bond requirement. In terms of like any users depositing ETH on ClayStack, we don't have any minimum. You can deposit as low as 0.01 ETH. For a validator, like the bond requirement, as I said, like there has always been competition that what could be the lowest bond. And we have pushed the boundaries now. For us, like it's 0 ETH, because VFPs can underwrite these bonds. So no one can go below 0. We are like, and that's why like it took us so much time for us to build this architecture. We did not want to release it before the withdrawals were live, because I felt like anyone who has launched pre-merge or pre-withdrawals has a lot of technical debt which can never be repaid. Like then you are stuck in a situation where you can't like fix the engine of a running car with like TVL. So we wanted to make sure everything is ready, and we are building this architecture which can last like years, not like just a few weeks or months in the bull market. So that's one. Second, around restaking, I've been following the restaking discussions for almost 1.5 years now, or maybe like almost 2 years from the early days itself. It's very interesting for sure. The concept sounds amazing in theory, that borrowing security from ETH to build other applications. The challenge is obviously it will mature with time. The one challenge is like finding use cases who are willing to pay. Like how do you generate this extra yield? You have to find use cases who are willing to pay that fee. Like one example would be, let's say you want to build an Oracle. You're like, hey, I don't want to have this Oracle governed by my own governance token. I want it to be governed by the healthiest asset on planet, which is Ethereum. So let me kind of take the restaked ETH. Let me ask all the validators in my Oracle ecosystem to bring their staked ETH. The challenge is like in the early days of a protocol, you don't generate enough revenue. Probably like you'll generate like I think Chainlink for the first year, I don't know how much revenue was there, maybe like 100,000 or even lesser. So it's very hard to give like any extra yield to these ETH stakers. So what I feel is like we are like monitoring it very closely. We are We are seeing like we have a very modular architecture, so we can enable like restaking layer whenever we want. So yeah, like we have the ideas that will make the core protocol immutable, and all these modular layers will be upgradable, so that we are not like stuck anywhere. We can like do the advancement in the technology, but at the same time have the enough security that is required. So I feel like in the early days of restaking, a lot of this will be like fueled by airdrops, governance tokens, and I wish, like, I'm just hoping that that would be enough to find that escape velocity. And if this concept finds that escape velocity, then there'll be tons of use cases where it can be used. But time will tell that the escape velocity will be found or not. The other challenge is, like, we have to see, like, we have to be very responsible. It seems like kind of like 2008 again, to some extent, where like you're creating like layers on top of layers and layers and layers, and then people are not like looking at the deepest layer. They're looking at the top layer, which is like the AAA bond, and they're like, things are great. So my only worry is that it does not create a situation where like people are just Degen-ing into like Eigen layer, then Ryan layer, then Jordan layer, then Mohak layer. It has to stop somewhere.
Well, that was a really wonderful answer, and that was the one thing that, because it seems that's what people are doing. Like, they're now trying to use your word, degen into these governance tokens and airdrops, because they're wanting to, get into a liquid staking token that has yet to come out with any kind of governance token, like Lido or what have you, and then they want to put it in Eigenlayer or something like that, so we're already in the metaphor you used of the stacking of the older financial products that we saw in 2008 that got us to all that trouble was very enlightening, because there seems to be robust debate around the use. I mean, even Vitalik himself has expressed concerns around restaking. So that was a great response and something that I got a lot out of. So thank you. That's a wonderful way to elucidate your thoughts on that. Appreciate it.
Mohak, I got a question. So ClayStack's notably focused on ETH, which makes sense. That's where a majority of the market is playing right now. But with a lot of these other large ecosystems, such as Cosmos, Avalanche, Solana even, do you guys have plans on expanding Polkadot, et cetera, into other types of liquid staking?
Yeah, so we started as a multi-chain liquid staking protocol. Our first implementation was on Polygon. We were the first ones to do Matic liquid staking trustlessly on both Ethereum as well as Polygon, whereas like the Matic staking happens only on Ethereum. We are a very lean team, a very focused team. Our primary focus is on Ethereum, but at the same time now, like, we have been looking at emerging markets very, very closely. The thing is, like, last 1.5 years, if you saw like the inflows of probably like 40 layer one combined was lesser than Ethereum, but now probably that's changing because every other emerging ecosystem is now growing. Like for example, coming back to what Ryan was saying around these degen activity that is happening like in crypto, because the last 1.5 years, probably from April 2022 or May 2022 to let's say October 2023, the activity was very low. So people like just like kind of very excited as soon as they saw, like as soon as their friend came in, hey, I made 10x in this meme coin. They're like, oh, now I want to be in the next one. So there's like a lot of excitement. The activity in a lot of these chains have started again. So we have been looking very closely, and we have strong plans to go on other chains as well, with primary focus on Ethereum.
Awesome, exciting. So kind of a pivot question here for you. From a user experience perspective, most institutions, I guess I'll dumb this layer down for most people that are listening. When you have your assets in funds locked into a custodian, it's very similar to having your real world assets like US dollars in a bank account. But if you want to go out and interact with the economy, you need some form of like a debit card or a credit card. So interacting with platforms like yours, people typically can't just use the funds that are directly from a custodian. They have to use some type of a Web3 wallet, whether it's Coinbase Prime's Web3 wallet, MetaMask, etc. So jumping off of that, how do users interact with you? What is the actual user experience? If somebody has their funds sitting in, let's say, a Web3 wallet, a MetaMask, how would they interact with your DApp?
Yeah, so even though liquid staking is a very big market, it's still kind of a niche in that sense that like you need to be To be honest, like we tried to kind of, we have made it very simple, but still you need to have like MetaMask installed, you need to have gas fee. So we support like all the leading wallets, we support like multi-sigs. And then at the same time for institutions or anyone like who has Fireblocks, we support that as well, because it allows you to interact with any custom smart contracts. But what I feel is like the pivot point, which is going to happen in a couple of years for liquid staking is, so liquid staking has three primary risks. One is the smart contract risk that exists overall in DeFi. Second is the slashing risk, which can be insured today as well. To some extent, it's not cost effective right now. And third is the price risk, that if the asset that you're staking, the price goes down by, let's say 40%, you have lost probably 10-year yield. And again, that risk is also hedgeable, but not today. So in a couple of years, when these three risks can be hedged, then like there is a big opportunity to build a structured yield product. The US Treasury bills yield is not going to remain where they are. And that will be the time where you can give like stable yields to institutions, endowments, pension funds. And then you will see like inflow of trillions of dollars with ETF coming up. So I think, because like I can go in detail like how these three risks can be hedged, but probably like for some other day. But I'm pretty sure that the cost of hedging these risks will come certainly like very, very low. And then like the opportunity will grow. But today, no matter how hard someone tries, it is still kind of, because for a regular person, like installing MetaMask, buying ETH for gas, that itself is a painful process. Like probably account abstraction will solve some of it, but still it like the first entry point of like getting ETH for gas, that remains the same. You cannot avoid it.
That makes sense. So then out of curiosity, are there any upcoming features or developments that you're particularly excited about, either just in like the ecosystem in general or stuff that you're personally working on at ClayStack?
First of all, like I'm very excited about our V2 when we make this VFP live, and like the solo staker campaign that we want to launch very soon. And apart from that, like what I'm really kind of looking forward to, especially like New Year is coming, is as I was like touched base before that, like crypto came in to kind of remove control from all these intermediaries, and or like kind of for people to trust in themselves, like to understand the systems. And it still feels like 2008 again, where for example, like in terms of centralized liquid staking, where one protocol has so much stake, which can even like affect the consensus of the chain itself. What people see is, oh, it's all by tier one validator and it's all insured, whereas it's not all insured. Very little fraction of it is insured. There has to be, if there is one slashing event, that can has such a catastrophic effects on ST. Like it can kill all the DeFi. Probably Ethereum will have to do a hard fork, and we survived that in 2016. This time we'll not survive that. So I hope like people start assessing these risks as real risk, because that's what happened in 2008. That there were all the signals, but it's like, oh, Moody's have given great rating to this bond, like then it must be good. I'm definitely like looking something wrong, or I'm overly concerned. But we all know that wasn't the case, and that is the case with liquid staking. So yeah, I hope like people start looking at it more seriously, that like it can actually affect the chain consensus.
Very good point. Very good point. Well, Mohak, it's been great catching up with you today. Loved meeting you at the Staking Rewards Summit in Istanbul. Your booth was buzzing, man, absolutely buzzing. People were excited about liquid staking, excited about your differentiator. For those of you that are listening and want to figure out, hey, how can I reach out to Mohak? Reach out to him on LinkedIn, as well as go to their website. It's claystack.com or app.claystack.com if you want to immediately start interacting and staking your ETH and getting some CS liquid staked ETH. Mohak,
I would prefer like people reaching out on Twitter than LinkedIn. I rarely check like LinkedIn messages. No, Twitter.
There you go. Reach out to Mohak on Twitter. What's your handle?
Mohak AGR.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And by the way, like I still have that beanie that you gave me during Staking Rewards Summit. That was the best merch that I had.
Appreciate that. Yeah, the globe and the stake on it. It was a little cheeky. Well, Mohak, appreciate it. Loved having you on today. For those of you listening, please go check out ClayStack, and we'll catch you all next time on another episode of Decentral Lounge. See y'all.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.